Peter LeClaire on the piano. What do you think of that soft, sweet stuff, huh? Thank you. Yes, we're ready to go. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
You know, it's 11 o'clock, 11:01, actually. So we're ready to have some fun. Okay, so welcome to the morning. And what I'd like to do is, before we get started, is give you get a couple announcements that are very important here. In fact, I think Julie has one to talk about right now.
I do. I want to remind you that next Sunday, Reverend Dr. Ruth Miller will be speaking here. And she's going to do a workshop afterwards. And the reason I wanted to announce her, because I know most of you probably do not know her, but she is fantastic. Mm-hmm. I've been to this workshop before. It's on what happens when you heal. It's really, really good. And I just encourage you to come listen to Ruth because she's really good. And she's written quite a few books. And just a lovely, lovely person. And really great workshop. So I'm just encouraging you after the service next week, and we'll come listen to her. But then after the service, stay and hear the workshop. She usually does the love offering, is what she usually does. And so she didn't give me a cost or anything. So typically that's what Ruth does. But yeah, she's really good and really smart. And Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. And you know something else? We had a wonderful thing going on yesterday. I'd like Reverend Moore to give us an idea on what's going on with our parking lot. Have you noticed that? Yeah. That gets an ovation. We're clapping for the parking lot, and you, Reverend Moore.
Well, we finally did get the deed done. Jeff Newman brought his company in here. I think it was on. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? And it was amazing how it's just a concrete or the asphalt just popped up and dumping it in the truck and hauling the stuff off. And it was all done. And I would guess 8 hours.
Yeah.
The whole thing was done. And it looked so beautiful. It was done. I couldn't stop taking pictures. It was really enjoyable to be there and see it done and see our desire. Now, the next part, project number 2, is the actual driveway. So if you got an extra $10,000 that you'd like to donate, that would be wonderful, or some part of it. We have another announcement. Do you have any more announcements?
I think this would be a wonderful thing to do, is the announcements and then what you're going to do there. So
Okay.
don't leave, okay?
I won't. I'll
Okay.
stay.
We have some announcements here.
All right.
Is there anyone joining us for the first time? I know there's got to be someone joining us for the first time. No? Recognize you all. That's great. Okay. Afterwards, we always have fellowship. You know what that means? Just go downstairs. We have a yakking good time, and coffee and tea and goodies, that type of thing. And we've heard about Dr. Ruth Miller. You don't want to miss that. Our next Soup of the Soul for the Soul fundraiser is going to be October 20th. And you know, October 20th, you're invited to sign up in the kitchen to do some help on that if you wish. Bring soup, bring bread, whatever you want to bring yourself. Bring a $100 bill, bring $3, whatever the minimum would be you want to put in there. We just say this, it's a good thing. We have our AED out here. You know what that is? We're having training on that coming up. Yes, we are. And so we're going to be able to use that. Probably never have to use it, but we're going to be able to if we have to. Okay. The book study group is still going on, and that has been such a great thing. I hear good reports on that. I've never been there, but I always have my intentions, you know. That's always on Fridays, and they're doing that from 2 o'clock to 3:30, and that's the book that they're working with is called Dances with Dogs. How do you like that? Dances with Dogs. I think we've all had that experience once or twice. Child care is always available. If you know people who say, gosh, I have a couple little ones here, bring them because we have child care. We'll take care of that. And the prayer request forms are in the pew ahead of you. If you'll see the colored pieces of paper there, if you have something you would like to, there they are. Thank you. Anytime you have something on your heart, your mind, you want to say something or you want to ask for prayer, do so. We take care of that. Put it in there's a box outside called a prayer require box. Prayer. I request a prayer in a box over there. So just put it in that, and you'll see it when you go out in the library. Don't put it in the offering plate this time. Just put it in the box, and we take care of that. I think we're ready for the next stage here.
Yeah, a little special recognition this morning is in
Yes.
order. We are an organization, a church, a family that depends on volunteers to do things. So many things get done by our volunteers, including much garden work, and sometimes people come in and put up little signs like that for us. Sometimes they put little covers on the boxes in the back, the thing that controls the heat. And we have one particular person who's done all of that, and we'd like to recognize her and her son as volunteers of the month for August. Shonda, would you come forward?
Where's that handsome son of yours?
He's in motorcycle school today.
Every day I'll pray for him.
Okay, that was nice, huh? Yeah. I think it's time to do our congregational song. Peter's going to lead us in that.
This may be a familiar song to a lot of you, and we're just going to sing these couple of verses a couple of times. Join me. I release and I let go. I let Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yeah, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yeah, I'm only here for God. Yeah, again I release, I let go, I let Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yeah, I'm only here for God. Oh, no more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light, and I am free in the Spirit. Yeah, I'm only here for God. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to pray at this time. Sometimes we have some music while we pray, sometimes we don't. But we're going to have... where is our prayer person? Well, I shall lead us in prayer. Okay. Let's go within. I always like to say going within, never to shut out the world, but simply because we access the kingdom of God that is within us by going within. It has been said that God can only grant grace, only God. But I say, and many others, that we have been given a privilege as humans to bless our world, to bless ourselves and bless everyone who we come in contact with. And so this morning, I bless this morning. This is a great morning. This is a baby morning, ready to happen, ready to bring forth wondrous things of good, raise the spirits, and warm our hearts. We have a message coming up this morning that is going to be so wonderful. You will carry it home. You will want to share it with the world. I love this place we call our spiritual home. I love this chapel. And I love all of you. I know you love being here. So thank you for being here. On my very next breath, I just release every word I've said out into the listening air of the universe, and I know it'll just come back pressed down, full and running over with all the goodness for all of us. And so it is. And if you will repeat that with me, and so it is. Amen. Affirmation. Has everybody got the program? In the program is the affirmation. And together in one voice, let us read this. My commitment to detachment releases me from the prison of my past conditioning. Now I am free to explore the unknown. I am open to infinite possibilities, and so it is.
Today's reading is In the Flow, which also happens to be the title of it. How about that? Quoting Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the ego flows away. Time flies. Every action, movement, and thought follows inevitably from the previous one. Your whole being is involved, and you're using your skills to the utmost. In Dr. Holmes, in a Holmes Reader on Meaning, writes, life flows into everything, through everything. It passes into every human event and translates itself through every human act. If you learn to think of life as flowing through your every action, you will soon discover that the things you give your attention to are quickened with new energy. Have you ever been so absorbed in what you are doing that you lost track of time, that you had a sense of focus and being in the flow? There is something energizing, balancing, and creative about being in the flow. There is a divine connection to something greater that expands the mind. It opens us to new ideas and solutions, and we see more clearly. The experience of flow lifts us into a deeper awareness of the wonder of life, the flow of spirit in us, through us, as us. To be in the richness of the flow requires total engagement in something you really enjoy. It is an experience where your natural gifts come into play. It can be the work you do, a physical activity, or a creative endeavor. If you're lucky, it can be all three at once. It creates a sense of freedom, balance, and well-being. As we contemplate the concept of flow, the idea of going with the flow is also powerful. It is an invitation to have no resistance to what is happening, to feel the sense of inner peace always. Mindfulness is key to both kinds of flow. It is being grounded in knowing the divine within, being centered in the power and presence of God. Gautama Buddha teaches, if you are quiet enough, you will hear the flow of the universe. You will feel its rhythm. Go with this flow. Happiness lies ahead. A little extra affirmation. I see myself in the flow of life. I use my natural gifts with joy and live in harmony and balance.
to do a Nora Jones song here called I'm Awake. The words are listed in your program in an insert. And you'll notice the words I'm finally awake show up a lot, to name a couple. Feel free to sing along if you're so inspired. Remember when I lost control, lost my soul, I'm finally awake. There were times when I lost my mind, but now I'm fine, I'm finally awake. Stuck in the sadness, swallowed me away, but I'm finally awake. And the thumping in the walls is the beat of my own heart, but I'm finally awake. Yeah, I'm finally awake. And how do you know if it's real? When it rains, it bleeds, it pours. But I'm finally awake. Yeah, you pushed me in the moment I deserve, but I'm finally awake. Now heaven's looking like a fancy restaurant, and I'm finally awake. Yeah, I'm finally awake. And how do you know if it's real? Well, fly your kite all your life. Don't let go, it'll be alright. Fly your kite all your life. Don't let go, it'll be alright. Yeah. Fly your kite all your life. Don't let go, it'll be alright. 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 Thank you.
I have to get my accessories in order here. Thank you, Peter. I haven't seen you for a while, and I almost didn't recognize you. Well, good morning. It's always an honor to share my perspective with you. You know, I believe that one of the greatest needs that humans have is to be heard. Sometimes dogs need to be heard too, but people for sure. And And I think this is an opportunity that not everyone gets, a captive audience. Okay. So I'm going to start by, and please join me in this, allowing any distractions of the morning to fall away. Looking for the right shoes, banging your head on the closet, finding the right shoes, finding the wrong shoes, unplugging your car. A sick friend 1,000 miles away, just holding a prayer for that and his wonderful family. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I hope you can do the same with whatever's going on in your life. Oh, and I forgot, taking pictures with Catherine. That was one of the mornings, how I started my morning. Gotcha. Okay. I'm going to tell you that you're going to hear a lot of quotes this morning, and please, I hope you don't feel like I'm doing my book report for high school, but I felt that a lot of his words, a lot of Deepak Chopra's words were what needed to be said to get across what he intends us to hear. And there's a few other people I'm going to quote here. For the past couple of months, we've been talking about this book. I actually have it. The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. I think it's appropriate that we finish with detachment. And as Reverend Julie pointed out, the chapters don't come in that order, but detachment really should be at the end, I believe. And I was kind of excited to be able to talk about that because I've spent a lot of time looking at detachment over the last several years. Detachment from people, from what people do, detachment from resentments. I don't know if anybody ever had to do that. And you name it, I've detached from it, but this goes to a different level. It's talking about detachment from our prayers, the results of our prayers. Now, I don't know if anyone else has looked at that. I would suppose that we have, because it's a big part of our philosophy. The final step of our 5-step prayer is release. I've seen people release balloons, burn their prayers, do different things to release them. But it's really kind of an inside job on that. And I can't tell you how to do it. I really can't. Each person has to decide how they release what they're praying about. But I will tell you what Deepak Chopra has to say about that. In the law of detachment, Chopra tells us that to acquire anything in the physical universe, we have to relinquish our attachment to it. But he goes on to say, this doesn't mean that you give up the intention. You don't give up the desire. You give up the attachment to the outcome. An Islamic teacher, Ali ibn Abi Talib, I butchered that, I'm sure, but nobody's going to tell on me, I'm sure. Yeah, thank you. Detachment is not that you should own nothing, but nothing should own you. Wow. I don't know. I think we're probably all there in that. Wow. And last month, Reverend Julie talked about the law of intention and desire. And she described the power and potential we tap into with our intention. So the law of detachment does not interfere with the law of intention and desire goal setting. you do have to have an attention to get from point A to point B, right? Through detachment, we just become aware of that. There are infinite possibilities to get there, infinite routes. I always thought that the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland told her, you don't know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you got there? I was sold on that slogan. But apparently, I was misquoting Cheshire. The quote actually says, if you don't know where you want to go, then it doesn't matter which path you take. Now that's pretty profound, actually. But even when you know where you want to go, it may not matter which road you take if you are aligned with the higher self. And Chopra capitalizes the essence self in throughout this chapter. And I think it's because he's referring to the higher self. And Satya, in her reading, talked about the ego. I read a quote that said, the ego is defined as part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for a sense of personal identity. A Sanskrit text that I read compares the ego, or the higher self, as two golden birds perched on the same tree. The ego eats the sweet and sour fruits of the tree, while the higher self looks on in detachment. Writer Gary Zukav writes, if you attend to the negative aspects of life, if you choose to focus your attention on the weaknesses of others, on the faults and shortcomings, you draw yourself the lower frequency of energy currents in disdain, anger, and hatred. You put distance between yourself and others. If you choose to focus your attention on the strengths of others, on the virtues of others, on the part of others that strives for the highest, you run through your system the higher frequency currents of appreciation and acceptance and love. And to me, that has a lot of the elements of that higher self that I strive for. Sometimes miss the mark, but that's my intention. Perhaps the higher self is that part that operates at the higher frequency, that shares love, peace, harmony, holds consciousness, and listens for messages from my intuition that come at alignment with that energy. Now, talking about detachment, it's a little complex. It requires commitment. It requires focus, and it requires trust and faith that this thing we do here really works. That this philosophy that we have adopted and we share here really works. Now, that's not easy. Chopra talks about getting what you want through detachment, and he calls a step in that process combining one-pointed focus and attention with detachment at the same time. Anything you want can be acquired through detachment. What's the catch? No? I guess you don't want to tell me, so I'll have to tell you what there is no catch. Actually, there's a footnote to that. Detachment is based on unquestioning belief or trust in the power of your true or higher self. Well, now wait a minute. Let's just stop right there. Are we talking about pink Cadillacs and parking spaces? What do you think? I don't know. Maybe you all don't know about this, but when I first came to Science of Mind, and I told people I was involved with this philosophy, they said, oh, those people, they're about material things, getting what they want materially. Pink Cadillacs and parking spaces. Now, this might be before you all came around here, but that's what I was hearing from folks that didn't know the truth. I think we've moved to a place where we are probably known a little more for being moved away from that material request, those material ideals, and looking more towards the higher plane of existence. I really believe that. But that was what a lot of people thought we were about. But this all brings up a memory. I was a little girl. Actually, I was a little girl once. Maybe 7 or 8. And occasionally I went to this small candy store with some of my friends from school. And if you had a little change, you could buy a sweet treat. We were there without adult supervision. Give that a little bit of thought. Go back in your memory to when you were little and there was no adult supervision. Yeah, Catherine's right. Ah. Okay, you could buy something we call Lickamaid. Yeah, I see some nodding heads. Disgusting to think about now, but it was like this, it was sugar with a flavoring in it. And it was in a straw or in a little pouch. Or you could get some dots, and they were attached to paper. And this never happened to me, but I was sharing with somebody recently about dots, and he shared that sometimes you got paper with that dot. So that made it all the better, you know. And bubblegum cigars. What is that about? Yeah. Nothing wholesome, but remember, no adult supervision. It was our own choices. Excuse me here. So does God send us to a candy store without adult supervision? Does Spirit turn us loose to choose from a cosmic glass candy case? Does He allow us to choose the symbols of abundance and success? The money, the cars, the houses, the money. We do have free will, and I think most of you will agree that we do better in our free will when we have aligned ourselves with higher thought. But we do have free will, so we get a choice. I believe this requires a broader view of our needs, choosing things that are for our greater good. According to Chopra, detachment holds the wisdom of uncertainty. In the wisdom of uncertainty lies freedom from our past, from the known, which is the prison of past conditioning. Attachment is based on fear. And I think a lot of people will relate to that. Fear of the unknown, fear based on past experiences where things didn't go right right according to our own desires. Fear and insecurity. a consciousness of lack. I don't know if anybody can relate to a consciousness of lack. I've certainly been in that place in my life. I don't live there now, but I remember the road to get there. I choose to throw away the map. He describes uncertainty, which is part of that detachment, as the fertile ground of pure creativity and freedom. The unknown is the field of all possibilities, fresh, new, open to creation of a new manifestation. Without uncertainty and the unknown, life is just a stale repetition of outworn memories. You become the victim of your past, and your tormentor today is your tormentor from yesterday. I recently went through a period of time where I had this little project going on. I was trying to change the past. I'm glad I heard one laugh. That didn't work so well, you know. But I was just processing some memories, and I was glad when that period of time passed. I was thinking about how different my life would have been had I not been directed by so much fear. Yeah, I was glad to let that one go. So how do we access that higher self? Now, I'm very much against telling you how you're going to feel when I'm done with this talk. Whenever I've done a workshop, I don't tell you how you're going to feel when it's over. It's okay if people want to predict that for themselves, but I'm just not in that camp, because there is no recipe, there is no formula for getting to a feeling. There are just guides, I think, people who've gone before you, who've processed things in a certain way, might be able to tell you how they did it. There's just ideas and thoughts and books and a lot of other materials. There are ministers and practitioners and therapists and teachers, and there's a lot of people that we can go to when we want to change the way we feel. But inevitably, we gotta do it ourselves. Sorry. So that's my disclaimer for the morning. So how do you access this higher self? Maybe some of these will work for you, maybe they won't. But if you leave here with one idea and one question that leads you to look for other answers, I'll be happy. So that's just what I think. These are some that I've chosen, and I allow myself, and they're in no particular order. Process and release memories of past traumas. And there are, you go back to those counselors and journals and therapists and ministers and practitioners and like-minded friends. I think we can look around and see some like-minded friends. Give yourself permission to adopt a practice and maintain a spiritual connection on a daily basis. Now, I know people that meditate for hours at a time. I can't do that. I became aware that I have a bit of attention deficit. Squirrel. You saw that squirrel, didn't you? Okay. My son said, so, have you been diagnosed? What are you going to do about it? And I said, well, at this point in life, I think it's mood. But anyway, I'm aware that meditating for a couple of hours at a time just wouldn't work for me. But I do spend a period of time, most days, in quiet contemplation. Sometimes that contemplation requires me to pet a dog. And fortunately, she has fur left, because that's been my, sometimes I use a mala, which are prayer beads, repeat a mantra. But try to do something every day. I try to. Embrace and visualize a place and a time that gives you peace. I was sharing with some people recently about that. I have a place that I sometimes go in my mind. I visualize a spot in San Luis Obispo, California, branch of the creek. I remember a day sitting there and watching my son catch salamanders to eat the earwigs under my house. It's a goal, Nice to have a goal. But I was sitting there and I couldn't capture it in a picture, but I captured it in my mind. I can hear the trickling of the water over the rocks. Sometimes I go there. Look for grace in all things. There's been a number of events in world history here, near recent and past, that have shaken us, shaken our faith. People that have had great losses during COVID. I know people who have had great losses, 9/11 losses. And I was sharing with my husband about a friend of ours, and he didn't tell us, but I read it in the paper. He was within view of the towers. He was in Pennsylvania when the planes hit, and he was on a project. And he saw the planes hit the towers, and he had been scheduled to fly home that morning. His flight was on flight 97, 73. Anyway, I can't recall it, but he was scheduled to be on that flight, and he wasn't. What a God shot. Look for grace in all things. COVID took things, but it gave us live stream for church services. And thank you, Aaron. As often as possible, connect with like-minded friends, pray, and then listen to your heart. Listen for your intuition. And then pray some more. I believe in the prayer behind the prayer. If you were to come to me for spiritual counseling and ask me to pray for you, maybe you wanted a new car. Okay. I would pray that you had the obstacles to that new car removed, that conditions were put in place for that car to become your own. But I would ask you about the needs of that car would satisfy. Maybe it would be safety, reliable transportation to the market, to school, to church, whatever the appearance of the desire, whatever you need. Maybe you just want a new car so you can look cool and get a date, maybe those things are cool too. Many of you have heard me talk about the inner conflict I had when I got my new car. Well, it's not quite new now, it's a couple of years old. I didn't want to pray for this or something better. I wanted that car. Recently I was able to process that conundrum, and I haven't shared this yet, so you're hearing it here first. It's this, when you want a car, it's this car or something better plus market research equals car. Because I did do that. I forgot to put in the prayer that it would be a color. Where's your car, Cheryl? It's that white Subaru. And where's your car, Cheryl? There's just a sea of white Subarus in this world, I tell you that. And even in this parking lot, you can find a lot of them. And John's not here, or we'd have a quorum. Oh, and Shannon, too. Yeah, a lot of people have white Subarus. There might be someone here today that doesn't believe that prayer works. And if you try prayer, maybe once, isn't that enough? Pray just once, and it should work, right? I see somebody smiling. I don't think you agree with that, do you? I don't either, actually. I invite you to try it again. Make it a spiritual practice on a daily basis. I invite you to do that. I'm not going to tell you to do it. I invite you to do it. Author Neil Welsh talks about unanswered prayer. No prayer is unanswered. A prayer is nothing more than a fervent statement of what is so. And it seems to go unanswered. Every prayer, every thought, every statement, every feeling is a creation. To the degree that it is fervently held in truth, to that degree it will be made manifest in your experience. So it's the energy. Not every thought is a prayer. Some people believe that. Personally, I think it's the ones we put energy behind, because otherwise I'd be scared to think. Gee, every thought was a prayer? Yikes. Okay, well, I've heard people say don't quit before the miracle. I say don't quit before the next miracle. We have prayer requests. You'll find some in the front of you. There's lavender ones in there next to the prayer box. Those are lavender because it's a new format. So, just so you know why they're lavender. They are always confidential. Always confidential. Did I mention they're confidential? They're only shared within the ministry team, which is ministers and practitioners. And I want to be clear on that. That's why we stopped putting them in the offering plate. The people that were counting money really weren't reading them, but we did not want you to fear that they were. Because sometimes, just sometimes, you fill one out and you don't want anyone that isn't a prayer professional. Okay, I'll use that word. Prayer professional. Someone who is going to pray for you. You want those people to read those. You don't want anyone else to read them. Just wanted to take that initial step out of the way so you wouldn't have that fear. Before we close, I want to invite you to turn within again. Close your eyes. And as we so often do, focus on your breath. And breathe in infinite possibilities. And breathe out limitations. And breathe in infinite possibilities. And breathe out limitations. And one more time. Breathe in infinite possibilities. And breathe out limitations. And in these moments of peace, I want to leave you with these words from Science of Mind minister and author, Reverend Bonnie Rose. We often seek concrete methods to fix our lives, but there are higher wills at play in our lives. Perhaps a divine essence with insight beyond our personal agendas. So instead of pummeling God with prayers to get what I wanted, I began to seek mystery over mastery. We can be love or be in the way of love. And because a good life is not about what happens to us, a good life grows when we become conscious about what we do with what happens. We do not believe what we see what we believe. The God in me blesses and honors the God in you. Thank you for letting me share today.
I'm going to sing a song by the artist Kesha called Learn to Let Go. Been a prisoner of the past. Had a bitterness when I looked back. Was telling everyone it's not that bad. And then everything hit the fan. Oh, I was telling everybody you don't gotta be a victim. Life isn't fair, but hell is living in resentment. Choose redemption, your happy ending's up to you. I think it's time to practice what I preach, exercise the demons inside me. Oh, I gotta learn to let it go. The past can't haunt me if I don't let it live and learn and never regret it. Oh, gotta learn to let it go. Kept a boogeyman under my bed, putting crazy thoughts inside my head, always whispering it's all your fault. Was always telling me you're not that strong. Always telling everybody you don't gotta be a victim. Life isn't fair, but hell is living in resentment. Choose redemption, your happy ending's up to you. So I think it's time to practice what I preach, exercise the demons inside me. Oh, gotta learn to let it go. The past can haunt me if I don't let it live, and learn and never forget it. Oh, gotta learn to let it go. Oh, hey, yeah, 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 hey, yeah, yeah. Learn to let go. I'm done reliving bad decisions. I see now there was a reason why I went through hell and back, and it's made me who I am. Ain't holding on to wasted time. So I think it's time to practice what I preach, exercise the demons inside me. Oh, gotta learn to let it go. The past can't harm me if I don't let it live, and learn and never forget it. Oh, gotta learn to let it go. Oh, hey, yeah, 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 hey, yeah, yeah. Learn to let go. Oh, hey, yeah, 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 hey, yeah, yeah. Learn to let go.
We come to a special time in our service this morning where we have the chance to reciprocate with the gifts that have been given and all of that to help support this chapel and its parking efforts and all the rest, to keep us open, to keep us alive, just to keep the law of circulating good in our lives. For as we give, we receive. As we receive, we give. I have a special request from Reverend Julie. There's a sign-up sheet for the workshop for Sunday next, Dr. Ruth Miller. It will be out on the table right after service. And there's one downstairs that you can also sign up on. So let's keep in mind the gifts we have for the chapel and the prosperity in our lives, and bring our offertory prayer to life by saying our affirmation. Divine love moving in and through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
I am grateful, I am grateful for abundance in my life. I am grateful, I am grateful for abundance in my life. Yeah, I am grateful, I am grateful for abundance in my life. Yeah, I am grateful, I am grateful for abundance in my life.
There's a peace in my soul. So I realize that the presence of the infinite is in me, operating through me, and operating as me, as it does in every person, everywhere. This peace extends to gratitude for the great blessing that this chapel, this center is in my life and the lives of each person here. we accept it all, sharing the love and compassion and joy that is Woodland Chapel. I just give thanks for it all. And I ask you to join me by saying, and so it is. Would you like to stand now? We can say our prayer of protection. It is in the bulletin if you haven't read it or don't know it. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is and all is well. Let's join hands and sing our peace song.